Alright, so in this video, I'm going to quickly show how to do Nav Mesh in Creation Kit. I'm recording this video because not always, sometimes, like, it's a good first step to, like, you can auto-generate Nav Mesh normally, but many times you just want to do it by hand, especially for interior spaces. So for that, I'm going to show you how to do it manually. So first we open up the Nav Mesh editor, which is this window. Let me drag it. So I'm recording on my second monitor, and it has lower resolution, so everything is like super big. OBS won't let me record it on my main desktop, which is really annoying. But anyways, so the Nav Mesh toolbar, we can access it by clicking this icon. And here I have a Nav Mesh made, so I'm just going to delete a section of a space I already have created. Okay. Okay. I'll just leave that here. Okay. So obviously your space is gonna be bigger than this, but this is just a quick example. So, what we want to do first is let's look at the toolbar. So here we have 3 different buttons, and each one of those of you who are familiar with 3D software like Maya or 3ds Max, this option allows us to select faces, this one to select vertices, and this one to select edges. Usually I just depending on what I do, but more often I just have the faces and vertices selected, but it's up to you. So in this case, Nav Mesh works using vertices, similar to like a 3D software. Every face in the Nav Mesh is composed of vertices, and Creation Kit uses triangles. So every face will be composed of 3 vertices. Now, to create one vertex to start making our Nav Mesh, we are going to hold Control and right click, and we create our first vertex. Now, if I click away, it disappears. So if I just do it again, I create one, and without clicking something else, if I hold Control again and click again, right click, it will create another one. And to finally create our first face, I'm just gonna click Control, right click again, and there we go, one face. As you can see, this vertices, I think you say vertices, is that the plural form? Anyways, these vertices are highlighted in green. I can only create a new face if I select 2 vertices that are not forming a face already. So in this case, these 3 vertices already form a face, but these 2, like for example, create this edge, and this edge is not connected to a face. Therefore, if I just select them, hold Control and right click. By the way, you can select multiple vertices by holding Control and left click. So with Control and right click, we can create another one. And as we can see, we now have 2 triangles. And you can just grab them, just left click and drag to move them whatever you like. Now, I'm going to finish this room really quickly and explain a little bit of how NPCs move through the Nav Mesh. As far as I understand, NPCs move from vertex to vertex, and the edges, they take into consideration the edges. So it is advisable to split your Nav Mesh or not have really, really big faces. For example, I'm going to do something very exaggerated here. So this face is like super, super, super big. You might get away with it, but usually you would want something smaller than this. So I'm just gonna delete it, and I'm gonna keep working with this. So Control to select the vertices, and Control and right click to create them. And for example, what happens when I get here? As you can see, there's these pillars or these edges, but I also want my Nav Mesh to be here, but I also want it to, go all the way. What I can do to create another vertex, I can select the edge, hold Control, and right click, and it will split the nav mesh. So if I go to edge mode, as you can see, it made a split. So now there's one more face. Now you don't want super like thin faces, but in this case, since I'm splitting the nav mesh, I think that it's fine in my opinion. So I'll just create another one. I hover over the edge, hold Control, and right click. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep going all the way. There we go. Now let's say I have another nav mesh island here. A nav mesh island is a group of nav mesh faces that are connected together. So for example, this is an island, and it's separate from this bigger island. Now, how do we connect them? Well, what we can do is as you can see, there are multiple debris pieces that are like blocking my sight. So if you see here in this tool view, there are different view modes. So if I click this one, it will show the nav mesh through geometry. If I click this one, it will just hide everything but the nav mesh. You can also shift through them by holding Alt and W. It's not letting me for whatever reason. Oh, sorry, just W, I believe. Yeah, not Alt W, just W. Anyways, in this mode, what I'm going to do is split this nav mesh face. Remember, Control and right click. I do the same here, and I connect them. Now, to connect nav mesh, to connect or create a face using the Nav Mesh tool, I just select 3 vertices and press A. I just press the A key. So I select 3, the minimum required to create a face, press A, and there we go. I do the same here, and A. I can also do it by selecting 4 of them. I usually just do 3 at a time, but if I select 4, it does the same and it splits the Nav Mesh. And now this individual island is now connected to this greater island, and therefore it just joins it. So now it's just one big island. Now, as you may have noticed, this face is yellow. The reason that it's yellow is because this nav face is a portal. A portal is what basically tells the NPCs that they are supposed to teleport here when they use a door. This is a lift, which is basically a door. And if you have your door set up correctly with the correct information, you should be able to teleport to this space. And to make your NPCs teleport as well, you need to have this portal in the nav mesh. Now, how do I create a portal? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to delete this face. To delete a face, you just select the face and press the delete key. Now, I'll just recreate this face by clicking on the vertices and pressing A. And as you can see, this is just a normal face. Nothing else happens here. To create a portal, if I have my door set up correctly, I just go to Nav Mesh and I click on finalize cell nav meshes. And as you can see, Creation Kit automatically looks for my doors and tries to find the nearest face to create those doors. Or in this case, the portal, sorry. Another example is here. In this area, I have another portal. This ladder is a door. I just changed the model to a ladder. And if I delete it and recreate it, so I press W to see through the meshes. And, oh, that was my phone. Press A, select them, press A. I remake this face, I create the face, press W again, and go to Nav Mesh, and finalize cell nav meshes. As you can see, it created a portal. It would have been better to make the portal here, because this is straight below the ladder. But this one, I think it works fine. Let's see, what else is there to nav meshes? Oh yeah. So for example, here, this is like an uneven terrain. So if I create a vertex here, so if I hold Control and right click, it will put it here. But if, let's say I want to move it down here for whatever reason, okay, I'll just drag it, press Alt W, sorry, W to see through it. And as you can see, before it was here, which was touching the ground, the vertices are generated on top of the geos that you have, or on top of the meshes that you have. But in this case, since I moved it, now it's floating. So how do I put them on the ground? How do I move them to the ground? Well, as you can see, if I just drag them like this, I cannot move them up or down. So what I can do is just press F for floor, and that way it will move them to the floor, and I can just move around with it. That's just a quick way of doing it, nav meshes. Basically what I just covered is how I mainly use my the nav mesh tool to just create my nav meshes. Of course, there are other tools like splitting the nav mesh and stuff like that. Let me see if I remember how to split it. Oh, yeah, there we go. So another way to split the nav mesh is, let's go see if I can find another face. Okay, this face, whoop, maybe a little too big, you know? So let's say I want to split it in two. If I hover over this edge and press right click, it will split it into smaller pieces. And remember, NPCs will move, as far as I understand, from vertex to vertex. So the more vertices you have, the better for the NPCs. But also keep in mind that too many vertices will make a mess out of your nav mesh, and you just want to have them spaced out accordingly. You don't want them to be too close to each other because it's just redundant. And if you have too many vertices on top of each other, you can create this. Now what you see here is this face is overlapping the other one. So we can see Steve fighting here. Of course, we don't want that. So to just avoid it, we can, let's say, delete this. If this is overlapping, I just delete it. And just select the vertices that made the hole like this. Press A, and there we go. It's fixed. Yep. If you have any questions, just send me a Slack message, and yeah.